on the Bradford Selectboard. Just as a reminder, everyone I'm sure is aware, but the election is on Tuesday, August 5th from 10 to 7 at the Academy Building. Of course, you can vote absentee ballot as well. We're going to meet our candidates in just a moment, but just to set a couple of ground rules for everyone. This is not a debate, it's more of a question and answer. It's an opportunity for us to hear from our candidates what's important about Bradford to them, and also to hear their thoughts about what's important in Bradford from the people who are here. We'll be asking questions tonight. So with that, each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond to a question. I'm going to ask questions of all 3 candidates, so candidates will get a chance to weigh in on every question, and I would ask folks here and online to ask questions in a way that it can be posed to all 3 as well, rather than to just one. We do have a online component tonight, and folks will be able to type in their questions into the chat if you'd like us to read it out here in the room for the candidates. So, with that, and for those who are asking questions tonight and who are with us here, just a reminder to ask a question and try to avoid a long, lengthy preamble. I will probably start wagging my finger if you do a bit of rambling. Likewise, if the candidate's answers are approaching 2 minutes, I'll probably let you know. Okay? So with that, let's meet our 3 candidates, and we'll start, at least for this question, in alphabetical order by last name, which means we'll start at the end here. So, Jean, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Jean Carlan, and I was born and raised in Ohio. I'm from a family of soybean and wheat farmers. I went to University of Cincinnati and gained a degree in chemistry. From there, I moved to Colorado for a couple of years, Pennsylvania for 7 years, and then Utah for another 7, where I began being involved in my local community, mostly because I ran a small hotel, and getting involved with the tourism board in the community was a requirement. We did a leadership program that was instrumental in me understanding how communities can actually do stuff and how the budget all works. Thereafter, my husband and I, with our 2 young kids, moved here to Bradford. Moved in with my mother-in-law, Margaret Carlan, who lives up the street. At the time, mid-70s, she was working still at Perry's, big house, big problems. And we moved in, and some of you guys may have remembered the cranes and the construction that was going on, and everyone stopping by to talk to Homer and Jamie Kingsbury as they were working on the house. Our kids have almost finished their education here, now 16 and 19, one's off in college. I'm a proud member of the community, and I hope you'll be able to get into the questions regarding what's going on currently and our experience in the community. Thank you very much for coming. Thanks for hosting me.
Thanks, Jean. Jarrod?
Jarrod Kosakowski, born and raised here in Bradford. I attended kindergarten through high school in the Bradford education system. I then left and went to Fort Riley, Kansas, as a member of the U.S. Army. Came home in 2000. Rejoined the National Guard here. I've been working full-time for them since 2009. I ran my own business through 2006 to 2009 following another deployment. Getting ready to retire, that's why I decided to take on this challenge. I showed interest in 2010 when I got home from Afghanistan. However, I didn't feel I had the time to dedicate to it. So now I'm getting ready to retire, more of a homebody. Hopefully I'll have a lot more time, or I will have a lot more time being retired to dedicate to the town. I think it's important. I know a lot of the older fellers that are in the town, the ones that have run the fire department, the ones that have been on the select board. I went to school with a lot of people that have done it as well. Again, thank you for coming, and appreciate Jean and Katie taking the time as well.
Great. Thank you, Jarrod. Katie, you're next.
My name is Katie O'Donnell. I am a current administrative assistant as well as a stay-at-home mom. I also volunteer quite a bit in the town of Bradford, and I grew up here. I live here now.
Great. Thank you so much. All right, let's hear a little bit more. Katie, why don't we start with you, and then we'll go down the end. Could you tell us a little bit more about why you're seeking the position?
Well, I love the town of Bradford, and I am encouraging for all voices to be heard. And I would like to support all of our public services, and
Why are you seeking office?
I'm seeking office. The infrastructure in Bradford, it breaks my heart to see empty windows on Bradford Main Street. I have talked to not very many people, but Sarah and Curtis, who own Not a Bakery, and he's a handyman. Those are the two most recent ones I've talked to that are, from Massachusetts, and they came here and they talked about how wonderful it is. We need more of that. We need more people that are willing to come here to fill that Main Street, to make this somewhere that not only people want to visit, but people want to live. And then the hot button right now, the elephant in the room, is the fire department, correct? We all know this. So how do we fix these problems? How does the infrastructure from that fire department carry into the town offices, carry to our highway department, into our police department? How do we merge these things so that everything is one? There's too many people voting different things, too much turmoil within these organizations right now. And I would love to get behind trying to fix that.
Okay.
I would love for Maroa, for Danny Perry, for all these people that have been carrying us on their shoulders for years to get a break and trust those who replace them, as well as have a relationship with it, that we can make a phone call and be like, Maroa, Danny, what would you do? Or what would you do?
Great, thank you, Jarrod. Jean, why do you want to be on the select board?
So, I itemized my experiences preparing for this, and what I came up with is that I am a community builder, and I hope that we can get into some experiences that we've all had here. A community builder that has been working hard in this town for 16 years. There are a number of things that are going to be top of our minds here in the next couple years, and I will itemize a few finite, a few very broad, complex, and then one final one. A few things that are coming up that are finite projects is the bridge replacement down here at the mill, Pleasant Street refurbishment that's going on, and reappraisals that are all going to happen by like 2027. Mind you, the fire truck issue is going on right now, and we're going to have meetings on that in July and August. But these things need communication and they need planning. They need people brought together to handle these things, and that's what I've been doing, and I'll show you in the history what else I've been doing along those lines. The more complex issues, housing and education. The housing bill that passed, hopefully we get into that, and the education bill that our governor signed on July 1 are complex changes to what's going to happen to our town and how we're going to move our town forward. In general, though, I would like to make sure that the select board is proactive, moving Bradford forward instead of being reactive and micromanaging in certain ways and not addressing things in other ways. Thank you.
Okay, great, thank you. One question, all three of you mentioned a lot of things that are pressing in Bradford. One thing that I didn't hear though, and I wanted to ask everyone about about your experiences with budgeting, because I know it's very boring, but this office, at least you're seeking just the balance of this term until March. And I know one big thing that the select board tackles in this period between the end of July and next March is developing a municipal budget. So I was wondering if you all could take a second to explain what experience you have budgeting, whether professionally, whether personally, anything you wanna tell us about your experience with budgeting. Jarrod, why don't we start with you in the middle?
Much like Jean, I ran my own business for a few years. It was successful. I took the path of full-time military service in the Vermont Guide for my family. It wasn't a failed business. I want to make sure that's clear. And then the service, 2021 to 22 in Kosovo, I was a camp mayor, which means you run every logistical piece in that camp. So from food, water, all these things. Budgeting money-wise, that's more logistics than money, but I feel it's relevant. Again, ran a successful business. I guess that's what I
No, that's great, thank you. Katie?
stay-at-home mom, so I do quite a bit of budgeting at home. My kids are both well-fed, healthy. Also, I'm a part-time administrative assistant, and part of my work is to invoice between $10,000 and $70,000 every few days. So.
Great, thank you. Jean?
So I've sat through the budgeting meetings of the select board this last year, the year before that, and the year before that, and sprinkled in a year before that, because I've been to over 60 plus select board meetings in the last 5 years. I understand what has been going on. I understand who has been investigated hard. I understand what departments are, it's easier to just put a number down and move forward. What I'd like to see is across the board sort of control of the budget, and also thinking about not only our budget and how much we're spending, but also in how much the grand list is worth, and talking about the upcoming housing issues that we have, understanding that what we're spending is dependent upon the value in our house, which correlates to the reappraisal that's gonna happen by 2027 that everyone is going to be impacted by. So budgeting, not only sitting in those meetings, having the Parks and Rec budget gone over, changed, but also managing $1 million business in figuring out what I'm going to put capital expense money towards, what's gonna be our daily expenses, and what revenue we need to bring in.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks. One thing I heard from all three of you, I believe, is that you have volunteered in some capacity in your life. And as you know, small towns, including the select board itself, are heavily reliant on volunteers. And I wanted to know if you had any ideas or thoughts or perspectives both on how to recruit volunteers to support municipal business and how to retain and support those volunteers once they're on board. So, Jean, why don't we start with you? See you smiling.
What's the question?
What are your ideas for volunteer recruitment, and how would you support and retain volunteers once they get involved with the town?
Excellent question. And volunteers have to be appreciated, and they have to hear from others that have been working in the town that, yeah, this is a good idea. So I've been recruiting volunteers for different projects through Parks and Rec for over 5 years. I have a team that sets up the ice rink, and a team that tears down the ice rink, and another group of volunteers that help me manage the ice and do the maintenance on it. We have so much fun, and we come together, do the job, and everyone is thrilled with it. Because volunteers they do a role for our community, right? They're serving a role, whether that's working in the food shelf, on the fire squad, doing Parks and Rec stuff, doing BYS coaching that's so important in our lives. So they're taking up that role, and not only they're doing that, they're strengthening the community through the action, but then they're also providing economic enhancement because all these things are being done without having to pay for them, like setting up recreation, like taking care of fires and safety aspects. So how can we recruit them? We can appreciate them more, and we can communicate where the opportunities are. We have very few opportunities where a communication goes out and says, hey, this job on this commission is open. Who wants to apply? And so improve communication and improve appreciation is what I'm going to say.
Thank you. Katie, you're next. You mentioned, I think you volunteered in the past. I was wondering if you had anything from your experience or any new ideas that you wanted to share about volunteer recruitment and retention for the town.
I agree with Jean that we need to appreciate them more, the ones that we do have. Also, did you want experience?
Sure.
Well, there was a couple things, but one I would like to mention is, I'm sure you saw in the news, my daughter, when she was 6 years old, we raised 3,000 pairs of socks for the homeless shelter down in White River Junction. So I got to be a part of that. That was really fun and sweet. The people that I do volunteer with know what I do. I spend many hours cleaning. I know mothers and grandparents that live in some of the lower priced rental houses, and I bring their kids to sports and the movies, museums, stuff like that. But like Jean said, I think they should just be appreciated more.
Jarrod?
I'll agree with both. Appreciated. However, I will caveat on both. I think the voting count in town is very low. I think the attendance at town meeting is very low. I would encourage people to attend these things so that they knew what was going on. Jean's part about communication. A lot of these things could probably be solved in conversations sitting in groups at town meeting. Because we all know we're standing in line and voting, and actually I think that's the last time you and I saw each other.
That's right.
So if more people attended town meeting, if more people were a voting member, and the numbers are low, it's, the registered voters, compared to the amount of people that actually vote, are very low. So I would do that. I would inform people more of what's going on so that they know what's going on. I can't volunteer for something. I didn't know the pergola was going on. Not telling you I could have been there, but if I didn't know what was going on, I definitely would do it, and that's fair. I'd love to help you get through that stuff, you know that. But voting, communication, and appreciating, and furthermore, we need to, as a select board, make sure that these organizations, whether it's the fire department, I'm sorry, it's my hot topic, fire department, police department, any of these things, if the leadership sucks, the organization will suck. That's how that goes.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm gonna just open it up and see if there's anyone here who's ready to ask a question. We got Amy was the first one to raise her hand, so we'll start with her. Amy?
So I have a few questions. I don't know how long.
Just ask one right now. We're trying to get everyone who wants to ask a question, and then we'll come back to other folks who've already previously asked one. Just ask your first one, your most important one right now.
I want to know how all of you feel about the situations happening in the town office, going from most key human resource aspect, I suppose. I don't know. Having one administrator, having a select board who is aware of the checks and balances. When I attend a select board meeting and I see meeting minutes, rarely, and the attendees are incorrect. The names that were signed on that paper are not listed on those public noted minutes, and that's a problem for me.
Amy, what's the question?
That's the question. How do you want to handle those kind of things? How do you want to handle stuff that's happening in the town office that's potentially, maybe it's okay, maybe it's not okay, but I've seen a lot of issues, and so how do you feel about the things that are public knowledge? There's the fire department, there's the not feeling welcome in the town office. Everything that you've all been asked are all issues in this community.
Do you all feel comfortable asking? That sounds like a question of oversight and how you would approach the select board's role as the overseer of staff and employees in town government and volunteers for that matter, and making sure they're carrying out the duties and responsibilities that they should be.
Sure, I'll go first.
Katie, you want to take correct?
As one single select board member, I would not be responsible for their position. Also, I believe that the town administrator has done a wonderful job. She has a lot of pressure. I think she handles herself with quite a bit of grace, and she does her research. She knows what she needs to take care of, and she gets it done with or without people watching.
Okay. Jarrod, you want to go next?
Yeah. So the last one that rings a bell with me and you was some requests that one of our municipalities had made, and I feel like had they had the correct tools, or more importantly the correct personnel in the meeting, it might have gone a little smoother. I don't know enough about behind closed doors in the town office to have a black and white answer for you. What I do know is that I think the meetings are set up a little bit different, where if you read the meeting rules, we're not following them to a T, right? You know that. But I would make sure that the personnel are, not make sure, because like you said, you don't control it as one seat, right? You can't do that. But I would encourage, that we have the right tools in these meetings and the right people are in the meetings to there's always going to be follow-on questions when you want money spent, right? There's going to be, hey, I want a skate park, right? I want a skate park, and then people started beating you up about, well, I want a basketball court, but they hadn't done their homework, because it was there, right? And we know this now, so, like, informative again, however, you gotta make sure that you have the right people in the room and the right tools and the right information to make an educated decision if you're going to spend the taxpayers' money.
Thank you. Jean?
So, I think I know what Amy is alluding to. I've certainly been in the recent select board meetings where she's made some public comment regarding that. I certainly have felt the divisiveness that exists. And so to solve that, it relates back to our engaging and welcoming process that the town went through about a year and a half ago, right? And if y'all were following that, it came to the select board, you know, to what should we do? There was a meeting, we actually had it in like the listers, what is that office? Water listers, etc. And pretty much the initiatives and all that came up, because our town was rated really poorly for being a positive work environment by the volunteers, staff, and elected officials that filled out the survey, nothing was done. And it was just really swept under the rug. So what can we do? Because I think that's sort of the root of what's going on. And so to build back on those relationships that have been fractured as if like a divorce, if you will, how do we build that back? And underlying that is respecting each other and trusting each other, but understanding the root cause of these things, being able to communicate effectively, and then embrace the respect and empathy that we all deserve, because we're all trying to do this job to make Bradford the best that it can be, right? We are all trying to do this job, and I appreciate these two that are up here working on this and moving forward with that too. But we're just coming at it from a little bit different perspective, so if we could try to listen to each other. I had a meetup with Maroa, who's on the Zoom, about a year and a little bit ago. We sat down at the gazebo for over an hour. I think we hugged by the time we ended that conversation. And it was a lovely conversation, and that's what we could use more of. And then how to handle the employees, because I think that was a point of your
2
question.
seconds.
The select board has to figure that out. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you.
Can I caveat?
Hold on, because I'm sure we'll get back to some of the things that was raised by Amy there. Let's hear from some other folks. I should mention, you got some questions online too. Okay. I completely neglected to introduce myself and Patrick of the Hub. So and an opportunity to thank the Hub for having us here tonight. So I just wanted to mention that Patrick's monitoring things online for us, and we'll get to some questions from the folks who are watching online in just a moment. But I see Beth has her hand up. So Beth, did you want to go ahead and ask a question?
I have a question for all of you. So there are many strong and differing opinions and voices in town and already on the select board. So I was wondering if you could please give an example of a time when you were part of a decision-making body that was faced with a difficult decision with a lot of opposing views on every side, and kind of what your role was in the process of making that decision.
Okay, thank you. Great question. Jarrod, do you want to start us off?
I'll give you the best one I got. I was deployed to Afghanistan for 11 months, and we ran over 300 missions at night that I planned and executed. It's the best I can give.
That helps. Thank you. Jean, you're next.
So decisions, I'm gonna fall back onto when I ran the hotel. I had to fire an employee, and it wasn't a decision that the other employees wanted, but it was the decision that I had to make for, I had to make it. And the other employees did not love that, and I ended up losing 2 more. But that was it. In our Parks and Rec and those kind of decisions that have come up, and certainly coming before the select board, boy, it sure does seem like decisions actually get made before the meetings. And how does that occur? Like, is there a lot of conversations going on behind closed doors? Is there just some, in one-on-one conversations are cool, like that's what happens, right? But coming into a select board meeting, I think you have to have a lot of things lined up. And you better know exactly what's going on and the details, the pros and cons of the issue, and be ready to listen to others.
Katie, anything from your experience that's responsive to Beth's question?
I currently work with a team of 5, and all of us were from different parts of the United States, Texas, Maine, all over. So, and we have very different personalities. We're all in different parts of our lives. I think that we work together well every day. We're always discussing things. And yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Thought I saw another hand. Yes, sir.
Not the highest on the priority list here, but Bradford has an inordinate number of abandoned houses scattered about downtown. And I don't know why the town doesn't have a more proactive approach. I've heard that if they pay their taxes, we can't do anything, and I've heard that putting them up for auction is too much trouble. But walking through town, it's really a bit of an eyesore, all these buildings, and plus some other buildings that are really run down, with people living in them and doing questions.
So what's your question for the candidates?
How would they deal with this issue of all these abandoned houses?
It's a tough issue, and it's one that's been in front of the select board a lot recently. Jean, why don't we start with you, and we'll work our way.
I love that question. Thank you for asking. Because you know what? I'm so numb to it. I had visitors come in and they're like, gee, what is going on down here? How long has that house been there? There's a tree going through it. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's been there for 16 years, well, before I got here. How can we do it? You said that the select board has had that in front of them. I don't think they have. I don't think they have.
At least in the health officer's report.
Indeed, but those aren't those aren't the abandoned ones that you brought up first. So, how can we deal with that? How have other towns been able to deal with this? And this is where I go to, how has this been done before? Contact VLCT, Vermont League of Cities and Towns. They have information, they know which towns have dealt with it in which ways, and form a collaboration, a committee. I'm picking you, and then we will go forward. And you know what? I just talked to Dr. Munson about this. Like, how can we move these empty houses into living, building, not affordable, but units that you can actually live in, right? Which gets back to the housing question, which I hope we'll ask someone else. But we have to do something, because they're gonna be here for another 16 years. I'm gonna zip them up.
Jarrod?
You can have it.
I don't got a straight answer for you. I guess I'd have to get into some of these meetings and see what it was. I remember that some of the unpaid taxes were an issue and haven't really been dealt with since prior to COVID. And maybe some of those other houses, maybe they're not. I'm not sure. I know that we haven't put anything up for tax sale in quite some time. However, Jean mentioned it. State grants. There's plenty of people around here that if they knew they were up for sale or they're for sale or not, how do you do it? I'm not sure, but there's plenty of people around here that will probably buy them, renovate, and solve some of our other housing issues that we have currently. So that would be my answer. I would have to do more homework on it. I don't have an overconfident answer for you.
Thank you. Katie?
I agree. I don't have enough information on it at this time. That's definitely something I'd be willing to look into. I do know that the people we do have renovating have done an excellent job with that. I think there needs to be more people encouraged to do what he is doing as well. Like Jarrod said, I think that it's been, Jean said this, sorry. It's been a long time coming. It's been a work in progress. I think the people that are working on it have done a fair enough job for the resources that they have. I think we need to encourage more regional help and state help. That would be my push, to get everybody communicating and to outsource.
Thank you. I thought I saw many hands. Okay, I think Danae her hand was up first, so Danae?
Yeah, I want to know what
with you?
Can I clarify the question first?
When we get to you.
Okay.
Katie?
My goal is to support the members and the board. I do understand that some have stepped down in the past, and unfortunately, that hurts the public. But they're making the decision themselves, and that's a choice that they do for their own health, and so I support that as well. But we do need to encourage more positivity. I've been to the meetings, I've heard you talking. I know what you stand for open communication, and I agree with that.
Jarrod, did you have a question for today about her?
You're talking about the capacity of the select board members
Yes,
themselves.
and you as a select board.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
First of all, I'll state that that's why I've not run yet, because I didn't think I had the time to dedicate to it. Now I feel I do. I feel like some of the people that have stepped down recently are warranted, very, very warranted. They've been there for a long time, some of them, and they've done a lot for us. And the potential backfills maybe weren't what they were hoping for, so they maybe ran longer or put in more time than they wanted to do. I mean, I know some people ran with the intent of running one term, just to try to change this or adjust this or how it was, or maybe just understand the inner workings of the town. You know, so it's not somebody, people don't get on the select board, completely open. That's one of the beauties of running this term right here, is that it's 6 months. If you get behind, you get behind closed doors, it blows your brains, you just, you don't gotta run again. You don't gotta run again in March, you can run 6 months. It's a challenge I'm willing to accept. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of the time anymore. And I feel like the other members, there's gotta be, there's gotta be a collaborative, or I would hope it would be a collaborative decision-making process, not a go into the meeting and I don't like the person across the room from me. I don't like the person in the seat beside me. I don't like that mentality.
Okay, thank you. Jean?
So the question about capacity, right, the select board members, right? And we've seen some resignations, and I certainly see when new people come in, and it takes them a while to get up to speed because they don't know what's been going on. They don't know what's been going on in the past few meetings, the past few years. They haven't been reading the packets. They don't even know where the packets are located on the website. So coming into this as an experienced person and knowing full well how much time it takes, although I get out of executive session, right? I don't have to stick around for that, but knowing how much time it takes every second and fourth Thursday of the month and being relieved, I would step down from Parks and Rec Commission, not have that commitment. My capacity, I feel like I'm gonna have more free time to garden and roller skate. That's my goal. But also thinking about the capacity over the 5 members. Y'all have been in the meetings and y'all see who's doing the work. And we all do what we can, right? But if you haven't seen who's doing the work, you should show up at a meeting, and the minutes don't do it justice. Come to a meeting. And don't bother zooming in because you can't hear very well, although I hear it's better. So capacity, I think we can do better. And I think I got it to run not only the next 6 months, but continue on.
Thank you, Jean. Before we return to questions in the room, Marcy, I know you're next. Let's take a question from online because I know there was one that was posed a long time ago.
So this is from Michael Wright. He wants to know, how well do you handle conflicts and high-stress situations?
Okay, Jean, we're going to start with you and then we'll work our way back down this way.
I stress out, I throw my hands in the air and run out of the room.
Okay, my turn.
Hey, y'all have seen me handling it in the select board meetings, trying to explain the benefits, the pros and cons of building a skate park with mostly grant money. You've seen probably the letter to the editor that I wrote, defending some inaccuracies that were written. I try not to get online and post things online. I don't do that. and get involved there, because that's like a no-win situation. We have to be informed about what's going on, right? So if you know what's going on, you've been talking to people, you're gonna be less surprised when those stressful things come up. Thanks for the question.
Thank you, Mike. Jarrod, you're next.
Personally, I like to sit back and get all the facts. I used to be really reactive when I was in my younger age. Now I like to sit back, get the facts, get every point of view, and then try to make an intelligent decision on how to move forward.
Okay, thank you. Katie?
I am a very good listener, and I try to be empathetic with people. Maybe with a little less people, though. That might be easier.
Great. Okay. Marcy, I think you had a question, didn't you?
I do. Getting back to like the vacant buildings and houses in town, they really have, many of them have been transformed recently, but that's not enough. So I'm wondering what you see the select board can do to really help alleviate the housing crisis. Select board can't make people build, they can't make people buy things, but I'm wondering what you see the select board can do to make that more possible for people to take that step.
Thank you, Marcy. Jarrod, can we start with you?
Sure. Marcy, I don't have an answer for your question. I don't know the bylaws in the town bylaws to answer that question. Some of them I got to assume if they're run down, they're not residents, right? So how do we fix that? We're not going to turn the town of Bradford into an HOA. It's just not going to happen. We're not going to have rules. Everybody's going to have the same mailbox. So I would have to do a lot more reading on it. I am much like Dean. I've been here for 47 years. It grew slowly to me. I didn't even notice the porch wasn't there anymore. So I would have to do some more reading, to be honest.
Thanks, Jarrod. Katie, you're next.
I would encourage supporting the board and finding their grant writers and reaching out to regional people. Again, Jarrod, I don't know. I've listened to the past year and a half worth of select board meetings, but before that, I was not interested in small town politics.
Jean?
Okay, I'm gonna set my own timer. Because housing is incredibly important. I went to meetings like, I don't know what it was. It was before our VCRD visit. Tim Copeland was in the room. Some other employees were in the room, OESU. And they were complaining then about housing. You know how many units we brought in 2023? 9. And 4 units came in the first half of 2025. That growth is not gonna sustain us. And it's not what the state wants. It's certainly not what the governor wants. It's not what Truck wants, Two Rivers Ottaquechee Regional Commission wants. They are forecasting 100 units be built between 2025 and 2030. That's 20 units a year over the next 5 years. How is that going to happen? We can't find a builder to, build one single family home when we have a couple that are renovating. Yes. Anyways, how are we going to do this? How is the select board? Your question was back to the select board, right? Mm-hmm. So the state has, Senate Article 127 that is a big housing initiative. In fact, I wrote this quote down, VLCT, Vermont League of Cities and Towns, wrote, one of the parts of this bill is CHIP. It's the Community Housing Infrastructure Proposal. What it does is it gives you tax incentives by reducing future tax and allows you to invest money up front, right? So VLCT says, just like last month, the CHIP proposal, as passed, represents the most significant investment in municipal infrastructure in state history. They put it in control of the local government to decide how it is played out. Guess what? The select board is the local government. So we need to figure out how those state programs can be applied to our needs, whether it's the houses that haven't been occupied in 20 years or maybe a new development. I talked to a real estate agent and she said, you give me single family homes, 2 bedrooms, 1 bath,
one level, and I can sell those all day.
Alright, excellent. I thought I saw another, was Paul? Alright, Paul, go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you. My name is Paul Hunt, and I heard two comments that are near and dear to my heart. And one was the difficulty of finding something on the website, and the other was the need to have more information put out and available to the residents of town. Full disclosure, I was on the committee that found and approved and helped design the current software, and all I
What's your question for the
hear.
candidates, Paul?
What's that?
What's your question for the candidates?
I'm getting to that. I keep hearing now that it is very difficult, or if not impossible, to find information on our town website. Is this a critical issue for the town of Bradford? And if it is, what are we going to do about it?
Okay, thank you. Katie, can we start with you?
I've heard that actually that more people believe that it is a critical issue. I personally don't feel that way. However, I do think that they need to find somebody that is capable of getting it up and running and easily accessible. That costs a lot of money, and money that you have to find somewhere. So maybe fundraising efforts, or a board just for the website.
Thank you, Katie. Jean, you're next.
Well, I use the website all the time, and I have to upload agendas, I have to upload minutes, and I have to name them properly, and I have to put them in the right folder, and I see who doesn't do that all. Because you can see on the backside of everything, right? So, to improve the communication and improve the websites, what are we gonna do? Whether we enforce those people that are supposed to be doing it right now and putting things in the right place, maybe. Making it more organized, maybe. Adding that to someone else's job responsibilities, maybe. I think the website has a decent platform. I use it, like I said, to upload things, but also as a user. I don't think many people, other people, use it though. I don't think a lot of other people use it. So what should we invest in? A little bit to make it more user-friendly and more organized? Probably. I'm up for select board discussions on how we're gonna fund that. Is it $5,000 to get it going? Is it $10,000? I know they put out an RFP, but there was no applicants that came back for it. So how are we gonna solve that problem? I'm uncertain, but I'm ready to tackle it.
Thank you, Jean. Jared?
I've not had anybody tell me they couldn't find something. I didn't have any problem finding anything I looked for, but I do understand it's an IT thing, right? So it's constantly on the update. So I have to agree, you have to allocate to the select board what money we're gonna put into it annually, I would assume. I mean, other towns around us must have IT people that they use on a regular basis. Most big companies do.
Thank you. Patrick? Oh, did anyone else ask
No,
any? Okay.
just Michael.
Okay, let's return to Michael right online.
What infrastructure capital expenditures should the town make now to make Bradford stronger 5 years from now?
Could you
read
read that?
What
motion?
infrastructure's capital expenditures, wow, I can't speak now, should the town make now to make Bradford stronger 5 years from now?
Okay, so what capital expenditure should the town make and invest in now to make Bradford better 5 years from now? So, Jean is nodding her head.
A fire truck? Anyone? Yes, thanks. I mean, this is what we have, this is what we should be thinking of. This is what, these kind of topics for the select board to be thinking about 5 years in advance does not come up currently at the select board meetings. And to be focused on that, I remember planning commission person, not Marcy, but I did point her way, sorry. A planning commission said, can you give me Parks and Recs, 5-10 year, capital improvement budget? And I'm like, what? We don't do that. And this question is exactly where I'd like to go with that, thinking about where our needs are, financing them, and planning there forward. Fire truck, of course. I mean, North Pleasant Street, as I already mentioned in the intro, for sure. The communication Whether that's the website improvement or getting someone to actually post on Connecting Bradford Facebook page when things come up, like jobs, or post on the listservs, these free avenues to get communication out, or even like the water is out. Am I up on time yet?
No, you're good.
Okay. But infrastructure, we do have to start thinking about, and then think about making relationships with developers who can maybe work on some housing and maybe come up with another, I don't know, blue spruce.
Okay. Jarrod, what capital expenditures can we make today that would make Bradford better 5 years from now?
We'll keep beating the fire truck. Fire truck maintenance maybe. I'm not sure if we need a truck or if we just need maintenance, right? The sidewalk, that one we beat up every town meeting and it gets asked that question, but there's plenty of infrastructure in town that we can fix. I mean, the bridge that you mentioned by the mill is a state project. However, the town's gonna have to figure out how we detour around that, or how we, we're not running off North Pleasant, whatever. How about the BA building? How about it gets vandalized every other day and we don't have any cameras, no approved anything that are on that building? How about the fire department that has none of these modern amenities? And all of these things that could just be improved slowly that are on the wish lists of, I'll say, community members. And it takes, as Jean mentioned before, it takes a pile of volunteers to go down and repaint those things, because it's not the people that we pay in the municipalities that are doing it. It's all these volunteers that keep redoing it. I would say all the issues that we've had in the past have been, should be on a blanket somewhere, and these are the things annually that we need to keep up on.
Thank you. Katie?
I believe it starts with, so it's a little off topic, but kind of not. I believe it starts with supporting the board. We need to be supporting public safety, so that includes our police department. When funds are going every which way, I think that police department is one of the main things we should be looking at, for the sake of, if it gets too bad, nobody is going to want to live or work here anymore, and then you really won't have anything in 5 years. Also, I believe strongly in supporting the, like Jarrod said, the maintenance of everything, so our schools, the park, the fire station, the police department, even the VA building. I think that needs to be top priority, and money needs to be spent in infrastructure first.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions? Oh, Carlan.
My concern is the police department, and we do not have coverage at night that I'm aware of, and especially on our street, we've got a huge drug house problem, and someone needs to do something about it.
So what's your question for the candidates?
I want someone to figure out what we do, because our street, we've lived there 56 years. I've been in this town since I was born, and my family before that, and this is just not right. So,
What can the
I
select
think-
board do to
yeah, we need
make the
nighttime,
community safer, and what kind of oversight or direction should select board members be providing the police department?
we need nighttime coverage. We don't
And
have it.
are you in favor of nighttime coverage? So you've got some wide latitude here to answer that question. Katie, can we start with you?
So not to pick on Jean at all whatsoever. I support Jean, I support her efforts. She's done an amazing job doing her research, figuring out pennies, et cetera, but I am gonna use her as an example. And Jean and I have talked a little bit about this. She's talked about it with other people as well. When things come up at town meeting day, such as the $195,000 for the skate park, people aren't realizing that could have been a salary for a police officer to work night shift for the full year, maybe even 2 police officers. And that's a decision that the community made. I've also heard some comments during select board meetings that, the police aren't doing their job, or they're just sitting around. And I find that very untrue. And when we speak those words out loud, it makes other people around us believe that they're not doing a good job. And the police department needs more support. They need the community to stand up. If they need something, we need to purchase it for them. And same goes with their salary. You're not gonna get anybody to work for free, especially for the police department. They're underpaid, they're underappreciated, and just saying thank you does not, I mean, it's a kind gesture, but it does not pay their bills or, want them to put their life on the line.
Okay, thank you. Jean, you're next.
Sure. So I empathize incredibly because I would not want to live where Marcia has been talking about, what's going on with her neighbors. I've seen her in select board meetings, the last 3 meetings, bringing everything up to date. So I see the police almost every time when I walk to my bus at 6:30 a.m. They're headed to the VA. When I leave my house, the police are at the VA. Night coverage. Why hasn't that been an issue? Why hasn't that been a change? Or let's try it for a while? I don't know. That's a really,
Sorry, I didn't understand what you meant. They go home at 6:30?
so there's no night coverage.
Right.
Right. So 6:30 a.m. Sorry, they're there definitely at 6:30 a.m. And I see them. They're doing the work. I'm not picking on anybody, but why don't we have night coverage when we know when things go wrong, right? Most of the time it's at night, and why is that? Yeah. So I would also like to say that community involvement with the police, it seems, is non-existent. We don't see a police report in the JO like we do for other communities. So somebody that just moves here is like, oh, there's nothing going on in Bradford because there's, we see the state police report. When I went to when I went to Fairleigh, am I out of time?
No.
When I went to
30 seconds.
Fairleigh to their select board meetings to see how they do it, they do a weekly meeting and they do a police report at almost every meeting that's written up. And also a town administrator report, which is very informational, and I've talked to Fairleigh residents and they say they really enjoy that. The one police officer from Fairleigh gets it done. So what do we got going on in Bradford? A lot of issues, and boy, we really need to tackle them because our safety is paramount.
Okay, you're done. Thank you, Jean. Jarrod.
So I think the town is already working this issue because Russ is putting together a plan, or has been working a plan to propose to hire 2 more officers. I don't know what that looks like salary-wise. Of course, that's going to affect salaries, and a lot of people when you think of the benefits that we provide as well. And with this, are we going to have 24-hour coverage? No. Is your coverage going to increase? And I also don't know if the state, they're not going to mandate what hours we roll our police officers, but the state police don't cover certain hours either. Their 02 to 08, I think, is not covered even by the state. So Russ is leaning forward on this because, we have homeless issues as well that contribute to this. A lot of them may be there at that house you're speaking of. I think everybody probably in this room knows exactly what house you're talking about. And they're there frequently, a little too frequently, I'm sure. But whatever, that's not what we're talking about. So I do know that Russ has been working the plan. Do I know if it's been proposed or not yet? No. And do I know that we'll even approve the plan? No. But I do know that you're not the only one. And I would very strongly suggest that we do exactly like Dean just said. We don't have a neighborhood watch program yet. We don't have an active one. The cops seem to be there a lot, so maybe they're not sick of it. But if every time somebody called, they just dropped in, and they might eventually get sick of that. Of course, you're not going to get them all out right now. But. So I do believe the plan is being worked. I don't believe it's a 100% solution. It may not even be a 20% solution yet. But I do know that you're not the only one that's worried. And the select board or Russ at least is working on the proposal.
Great, thank you, Jarrod. As we approach 7 o'clock, I just want to let everyone know that I am hoping to wind down very soon. I did want to go back to Amy because I know you mentioned you had several questions off the bat, and I took 2 questions from someone online, so I apologize about that. Did you have a second question you wanted to ask our candidates tonight?
I think that I kind of combined my first 2, and then we just talked about the drug houses, the trash, the elderly that are living in fear follow through. The police, I don't know how many people in this room have called 911 and gotten a call back. I don't know how many people who have called because someone was passed out half in the road behind the wheel of a car and nobody stopped. How, as a select board member, are you going to ensure, and then we can talk about Russ Robinson's being inappropriate on more than one occasion.
Well, what's your question for
But
the candidate?
how can you, what will you do? I mean, maybe we need Vermont State Police back on force. Maybe we need a more let's bring, Bradford isn't prepared for what's happening right now in this town. And maybe we need to restaff the state police barracks and send this secretary that is in the barracks now, in the town office, back up to fill Carol Taylor's shoes and have the VSP back here where we have.
Thank you, Amy. It sounds like, okay, so I am gonna ask, like I said, I think you all will have an opportunity to sort of give a closing statement or summation or address anything we haven't done. But is there anything about public safety or policing in the community that you wanted to revisit or mention again in response to what Amy just said? Anything that, Jean,
Yes.
you wanna take a couple
Yes.
minutes?
I would definitely take a couple minutes.
Okay.
Because, like I said, it's paramount, right? The select board hardly addresses police department activity. I've been to 60+ meetings, as I said, and I don't see that police department activity happening in a select board meeting. I mean, once in a blue moon, we'll have something come up that is ongoing. And sometimes I see Russ there during executive session. But I don't see the select board, now maybe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes, I don't know. But I haven't seen a lot of activity as much as what we're talking about and as much as a safety issue it is, it should rise to the priority of the select board. It takes about 10% of our budget, the police department does right now. And if we're talking about adding 2 more people, I appreciate what you're saying about the 195 from the skate park there, Katie, but you gotta realize that money was allocated from, it was ARPA, and then it rolled over. Yes, could we have used it for funds for salaries? Sure. Would those salaries continue on then for every year? And we're gonna talk about the increase in taxes upcoming here next month when Jen gives us the tax rate and what came of that, because we didn't opt to reduce our budget by any of the surplus. And we do have a lot of increases in salary and health insurance, et cetera, So you wanna talk about bringing in 2 more staff members? Whew. We really need some talk to what's going on here and how that is going to be funded and what's the benefit. Is there other ways also to address that, not just hiring someone else, a community involvement?
Thank you. Katie, Jarrod, did you want to piggyback on anything that Jean just said or address anything that Amy mentioned earlier?
I haven't paid enough attention to what they do on the daily. That's my honest opinion, or my honest answer is I don't know what they do on the daily. I know there's a lot going on in town, a lot of not good stuff. So, yeah, the meeting minutes and the from the select board and the police department. I know that the policeman that covers fairly. I can talk to him and see exactly how they do it. But I don't have enough time to watch their daily right now.
Thanks, Jarrod. Katie?
So I believe that there's actually a Vermont law that prevents the select board from managing the police chief and his department. So that may have, something to do with that. I fully 100% support the police and what they're doing. There's only 2 guys. They both work full time. And like Jean said, the only way that you're gonna get night coverage is to hire somebody else. And unfortunately, if that means an increase in taxes, I believe you should really support the people that are here working and giving their time. I believe all public servants, that means clerical, fire department, anybody who provides public service, military, they should all really be supported and appreciated and no matter the cost,
Sure.
because
Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna ask one more question, right here.
Do we no longer have a safety committee, public safety committee? No longer?
We do have a public safety committee, so we do.
Oh, and,
You wanna know what the candidates think about their role in the
yeah.
public safety committee?
What do you think about the role of the Public Safety Committee?
Can we tackle that, Jerry? Can we start with you?
I'm not gonna tackle that.
Okay.
Not after the last few comments, I'm not gonna tackle that right now.
Jean?
Yes, I went to the Public Safety Commission meeting a week and a half ago. That was my first meeting that I had been to. I went specifically in preparation for the fire truck issue that was coming up, and also I'm uncertain as to whether they have purview over the police. I don't think that is. I think they're like an adversary role. I actually wanted to ask for their bylaws and see how that works compared to other commissions in Bradford. I thought that the people that were serving on that commission are probably submitting a lot of history and experience in guiding specifically what they talked about was the fire truck issues right now. They didn't bring up the police issues going on when I was in this last meeting.
Thank you. Katie?
I appreciate that there's a separate public safety board of people to work together on those issues. There may be some members that are ready to get out of it and, they've been there for a long time, they've supported this town for a long time, but it's hard to encourage younger people to get in and learn what they need to do. So I'm here to support those people and hopefully improve any board that I can.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, we're gonna wind it down, folks, and just a moment, I'm gonna ask our three candidates here to say if there was anything that we covered or didn't cover that they would like to address. Please take a couple minutes to do so. Just wanted to remind everyone again that voting is on August 5th, and I also wanted to thank Patrick and Emily and the teams for hosting us here for tonight. This was great, and it was very easy. And thank you so much, everyone here, for coming. So I think we'll go the same way that we started, alphabetical order. Jean, you want to get us started with a closing statement?
How much do that?
2 minutes.
2 minutes?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Wait, you didn't start yet, did you? Wait, don't hit the button yet. Okay, go. Hey, thank you again so much for being here. A note on absentee voting, you gotta get to the town office and go talk to Nikki between 6:30 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday to get an absentee ballot. And please share that with your people that you know in your circles so that it's Monday through Thursday, not on Friday, and the last time to get an absentee ballot is the Thursday before the vote. In closing, I wanted to stress how much that I have been involved in creating things from almost nothing here in Bradford. In 2014, I started the Young Makers Club at the Bradford Public Library. We ran 5 years doing educational opportunities for kids on Thursday nights with adults that wanted to volunteer, and it was a free opportunity for kids. We ran that on a very low budget of a donation that lasted for the 5 years, and it was incredible to grab people from the community, bring them in, and to offer this. That led me into VES, volunteering for the Winter Sports Program for 10 years, and then Heidi Torfey said, hey Jean, why don't you get on Parks and Rec? And that's how I landed that. So in your involvement in our community, those people watching online or on the video, get involved somehow and find others that can maybe step up their involvement, because this is how Bradford will succeed, not only one of us running in the select board spot, but all these other little positions. We can improve communications as we go to make these opportunities available for people to know about. In closing, I've been a community builder here for 16 years. I would like the opportunity to continue on with some of the hardest issues that we're facing, especially what we've mentioned here, and also the education bill, which hasn't come up, which if you don't understand it, it's gonna be big, how it changes our education. Districts have to be 4,000 students or more, and I thank you for coming.
Jarrod, anything you wanted to say before we adjourn for the evening?
Yes, earlier, Jean mentioned empathy and respect in the select board meetings, and I would encourage in the future, if you're attending a select board meeting with issues or concerns, that not only do you voice your issue or concern, but suggest a solution. Seems like a lot of people go into the select board meeting, point a finger, or maybe not even the select board meeting, let's just say at the village store in the morning, and everybody's got an opinion. Well, if you don't, maybe this person hasn't thought of the solution, maybe the community needs to help make these, which is exactly why we're a community, right? And then I would encourage you guys to vote. Vote, vote, vote. Attend town meeting, encourage your friends, your families, everybody to attend town meeting and vote. If you don't vote, you're gypping yourselves, that's what you're doing, you're gypping yourselves. And thanks to the Hub for having us.
Great. Thank you. Katie, do you want to take us out for the night?
Thank you all for having me. Thank you for attending. Like Jean, I just want to encourage you to get out, volunteer, talk to people. As you can tell, I'm nervous, but you have to do it anyways. You have to show up. And please treat the volunteers and the public service members as people. They have families, they have friends. Be respectful with your words, talk to them, ask them what's going on, and support them any way you can.
Great. Thank you, everyone.